Welcome to Taxidermy Truths, where we discuss the ins and outs of not only the taxidermy process, but the influences on the hunting community as a whole. With over 25 years in the wildlife and taxidermy industry, I host open conversations with artists, experts, and industry giants. From sustainable utilization to shipping rates, we dig into the reality of the experience after the safari and hear real stories worth remembering. Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Taxidermy Truths. Today is going to be a fantastic one. I get really excited when I have greatness in my presence, and I'm joined with Simon le Gras, or joined by Simon le Gras from SimonSays Advertising. This is something special for me, really special. Simon and I go back the better part of 23 years. We've walked an incredible road together. I've watched Simon's advertising agency grow from strength to strength over the years and produce what is arguably, in my opinion, some of the best advertising and marketing content in South Africa over his 22-year career of owning SimonSays. As a close friend and someone I look up to as a mentor in marketing, it's a great privilege and pleasure to have you here. And just bear with us as Simon does get a bit teary from time to time. He's quite an emotional fellow, as all creatives are. We're going to shoot the breeze and summarize 23 years in the next 23 minutes. Simon.
Douglas.
So as a creative...
Or as we know you as Douglas.
Yes, not true. Fair enough. Simon and I started our journey where we were both very much out to create something. I remember meeting Simon and in one of our earlier conversations telling him that his product was expensive. That was when your offices were half the size of this office. You had hair on your shoulders and a particularly fast motorbike in the garage. Life was good. You've come a long way since then. Where's the motorbike?
I remember those days. Wow. The short version of that story is that trees don't jump out of the way when you're on your motorbike. So I unfortunately broke my collarbone and couldn't work for a couple of weeks. I decided, listen, it's time to get rid of this thing. So it was the right decision at the time. But listen, thanks for having me. It's really nice to be here. I'd like to tell you, like from my side, is I've always had an affection for the hunting tourism industry, and it started off when I was still in school, and I wanted to pursue a career in game ranging in those years. That was the early 80s, and I did a bit of research, and the only game reserves that were available then were state-owned, and there was only 3 or 4 available.
Some Addo Elephant Park and the likes.
Kruger, and probably 1 or 2 others that I can't remember. And I had a look at it, and the competition was pretty tough to get in there, and unfortunately the pay wasn't great either. So this was before all these private game reserves and things started. So I did an aptitude test and found out that creatively, I was kind of inclined in that direction also had an affinity for wildlife. And I did a full circle. So I went and studied graphic design and then came back into the industry and started working with the guys in the hunting industry and also meeting up with you. What I do, I must just say, what I like about this industry, and I know that's quite a contentious issue, is that the people that I work with, they're all farmers. They're all farmers back then, like really good people, and they've pursued a lifestyle or a career that's thousands of years old, and just dealing with those guys, you become part of their family. So, and I've enjoyed it, and we've been working with quite a few big names in the industry, and I think, if I may mention, it took me 20 of the 23 years working with you guys to finally be invited on a hunt, and I've actually been doing that now. So now I'm officially a hunter as well. Not a very good one yet, but I am a hunter. So, but yeah, that's a little bit of background on my side, and yeah, we've walked a long road together with helping you from your side with growing this empire that you have.
But Simon, people, firstly, I get asked all the time, man, where did you get your logo? What a cool logo it was.
This is many years ago. Okay.
This is way back. This is like conceptual days.
Yeah.
And you drew the logo.
Yep.
That was a hand-drawn logo. It has changed so little over the years. We've maybe smoothed off a line, maybe put a shadow line in, but
Not even.
The font is still the same.
Yeah.
The two sables in the shape of the heart, sable, gemsbuck, whatever the animal is, the splitting image, you summed it up first try. You got it right, and it's stuck, and it's recognized. And
that's good.
Yeah.
What I was trying to get at is essentially what you're doing is to try and recreate that experience of that adventure or the essence of that animal. So it's in remembering that animal. So when you see them in the wild and you've had the opportunity to be part of taking it and then creating this replica of it, it's in honoring that animal. And I think you guys do it really well.
It's respect,
Total respect. Total respect.
Look, you're an incredible artist in your own right. I've got some of your sculptures, which you've gifted me with over the years, and I'm very grateful. Your son, I've watched him when we've been sitting at lunch, whip out a pencil and paper and draw the most incredible images. He's equally talented. So
better than me.
Apple didn't fall far from that tree. I think as an artist, you appreciate what we do. As a taxidermist, splitting image taxidermy has tried to evolve to become this organization that respects animals and celebrates it through our art form. The sculpting, the presentation of skin, the poses and all the rest. As an artist yourself, I find that you brought that across into your work with splitting image taxidermy and in principle being our advertising and marketing agency of choice for 23 years. When you walk through the studio today?
Doug, when I'm looking at it, I've always tried to, our tagline is we are different and you can be too. So whatever we do within our own kind of operation is like, how can we think differently? How do we present ourselves differently? And we live that. And in doing that, we try and do the same thing for our clients by differentiating them from their competitors. And since the first day that I saw the work that Splitting Image does is that it's art, it's a sculpture, and I've always tried to position it that it's not a product, it's art, it's unique, it's a one of, and it's treated like that, and it's celebrated like that, and the whole process from start to finish it's a pleasant experience. And then I don't know what the guys are when they receive it on the other end, how they it takes you back to that time when you for those who have been on a hunt and for those who haven't been, it's a long process. The actual part of taking that animal is such a small part of it. It's that time. We've seen 20, 30 animals before we've actually taken an animal, and those animals are handpicked based on their age. And if you don't take that animal at that point, they could starve to death because their teeth start fading. So there's a lot of education that needs to happen within the industry, but what you guys do is just you capture that whole essence of what it was like to experience that, a bit of Africa.
Yeah, a bit of Africa. It's a very special part of Africa. The Eastern Cape it never was the game capital of the country, but today it's the second largest hunting province in South Africa. We've got more species present in this province than anywhere else in the country.
I think, and again, this is probably people probably know this, but this is where hunting reserves actually protect and look after animals and retain the species. They've got poaching police involved, and there's a lot of protection around the land and the product that they have to sustain it.
You mentioned you work with a number of bigger brands and a couple of hunting operations. They start as farmers, and today it's a different market. In what way, from a marketing perspective and an advertising perspective, are you finding the hunting industry has evolved and is different today?
We talk about authentic content. So we've gone, if you look back in the years, 20 years ago, it was print media was massive. So there was a lot of wastage with print, and guys would have to travel to the shows to go and meet up with potential clients. And then what happened was the digital space started coming into its own, and websites became the flavor of the day. But I feel that we're evolving past that. I'm not even talking AI or any of that type of stuff. I'm talking about authentic content. It's like connecting with people. It's that story. So these channels of communication, if you will, whether it's print media, digital media, video, all of that, it's how do you connect your brand to that authentic experience? And that's the challenge that you need to have. So pro tip, video content is massive. We're seeing huge amounts of engagement with video content, and you can never have enough. Never have enough. And podcasts like this are amazing because it gets your message out there. It's easy to digest. You might be in your car now listening to this, and just you might learn a little bit.
Yeah, I think education is important throughout. We hope they learn a lot because at the end of the day, things are evolving. The permits that we need to process animals, it's more paperwork than we've ever gone through before. Spitting Image Taxidermy has had some amazing successes, but very few people understand the backstory of each of those successes.
Yeah.
The amount of work that goes into preparing for that one pinnacle moment. You look at the brochures that we've done over the years, and it started off relatively simple with an A5 fold out. And I've still got the first brochure that you did for us 23 years ago, and it's hanging in the entrance.
Yeah.
It then turned into something that folded a bit differently. We did that, I don't know if you remember the target brochure.
Yeah.
I was adamant that we weren't going to waste brochures. I don't want to print them and it doesn't get used. I went through a phase of everything must have use.
Yeah.
So
value,
So we turned the brochure into something of value, and it became a target, and we had outfitters taking our brochures and shooting them to pieces. It was fantastic. Now we've got a magazine.
Yeah.
It's been an evolution of marketing and the way we sell and tell our story.
Yeah. Education is the most important thing, and it changes all the time. Yeah.
That's very interesting. You touched on AI from an advancement perspective. I personally believe that hunting will remain authentic.
Yeah.
And therein lies one of the most critical values in the pastime of hunting. Because where technology might be able to do the copy of a story, AI might well be able to produce artificial actors in a film or in a skit. The experience of hunting, it takes you into nature, gets dirt under your boots, it's real, and you cannot replicate that experience.
No.
Your take on where the opportunity lies to marry technology and our hunting experience. I'm interested to hear your take on it.
We're in such an interesting space because if you look at the fourth industrial revolution, things that are happening with tech, and there's so many things from 3D printing, which I know you're involved in, nanotechnology, crypto, AI. There's so much that's happening. And the thing is, I actually did a lecture a while ago about this, is that all of these technologies are running on their own track, but the convergence of all this technology is what's going to create some interesting developments. I can't keep up with it anymore. I've been researching it, and you just need to take a break from it. I think you've capitalized nicely on some of the 3D printing stuff that you've been doing. I think, it's a nice way of sharing your skulls, or sharing your scaled down models of what what's out there. So a lot's going to happen. I can't tell you exactly what, but there's so much that's going to happen from a technology point of view. From a marketing perspective, I think there's, if you know how to do it, you can do it. So even from managing your social media accounts, I'll tell clients honestly, if you know how to do it and you have the time to do it, then do it. We have an experience around looking at the whole picture and looking at what ties into that message and how we share that message across multiple platforms based on target audiences, geolocations, and trying to get that message out there. So if you can do it yourself, do it yourself. If you know how to do it, great.
And I think everyone should be doing it. I think that there's also a word of warning that be aware that what you put out there, you can't pull it back. So make sure that from a hunting perspective, that we put our best foot forward and we develop and share authentic content that puts an industry that, like you rightly said, is often under fire.
Yeah.
It puts it in the best light possible.
Yeah, it's I think everybody has good intentions, whether you are for it or against it.
Yes.
I think what we need to understand is those that are for it, what are your good intentions? And those that are against it, understand that what are your good intentions around this? And that's where the bridge needs to happen from an education point of view. Hunters will be hunters. People that feel offended by it or don't like it, you won't change their mind. And there's a lot of argument online around this, and it's not worth getting into that debate. But if you look at the people that have good intentions, and any industry has a bad side to it. I mean, you can look at, there are doctors with lawsuits against them. So I don't want to target the doctors, but the thing is that any industry can have a bad element to it, and we need to look. The industry needs to keep those people under wraps about this, and this is not right.
And mitigate the damage.
100%, and focus on what it is that we're trying to do. We're all conservationists at the end of the day. It's not just about the animals, it's about the land. It's about the animals, it's about the people that live on those lands. I mean, a lot of these trackers were raised as hunters, and if they didn't have these opportunities, we'd probably end up being poachers, which
100%.
Which would probably end up in a criminal record, and then families are experiencing. So there's a positive knock-on with this potential assumption of the badness of it. It's, again, I'm not yet to change anyone's mind, but there is good in in everything.
So you've come to the hunting party later than some. You mentioned that it's taken you a good 20 years to crack the nod to the annual hunt scenario.
It's a big decision, Doug. You're going into the wild and you're taking an animal. You need to process why you're doing it and have the respect around it. For me, it's about feeding my family.
Yes.
I believe that every man should either grow his own food or fish for his own food or hunt for his own food, but you need to have that experience around providing. I mean, we're men, we provide for our families. You need to build shelter, whether it's a tent or a treehouse. These are things that men need to do.
It's important that we all take the time to consider why we hunt, why we do anything for that matter. But there are hunters, there are non-hunters, and there are anti-hunters. And I believe that through education, that non-hunters can make qualified decisions to choose whether to hunt or not to hunt. 100%. But that doesn't make them an anti-hunter.
Exactly.
I don't have any objection to someone who is an anti-hunter, as long as their position is defined by education and they have made their choices based upon rational educational facts.
Yeah.
I'm not one for unicorns and fluffy marshmallow stories when it comes to animals, because having Africa's dirt on my hands, I understand that we are the custodians of wildlife and we need to look after this asset, or it will cease to exist. That's just a fact.
100%.
So, to touch on a couple of the wins for SimonSays. SimonSays this year is 22 years old. I saw on your social media feed, and to those listening, guys, take a look. Drop a like or 12 or more, but by all means take a look at SimonSays and what these guys do. They run a remarkable organization, from print to media to digital strategy. It really is an exceptional organization. So there's my punt.
Thanks, Doug.
But it comes from a heartfelt place. A couple of your sort of wins over the last 22 years. I know you got the literal Lra award from Splitting Image Taxidermy. That was a fun moment. But a couple of the highlights?
I'll start with a regret. I regret calling the company SimonSays Advertising, because when I started under the situation I was in wasn't great, because the company I was working for was closing, and I had a decision to make whether I'd apply for position at any of the other agencies or I start my own thing. And through blind ignorance, I thought, how hard could this be? And literally blind ignorance. So I think the win for me would be to build the team that I have around me, because it's not about me anymore, it's about them, and it's their legacy now. So we're creating the building, we're creating the opportunity, but to see them develop, and I think that's the reward that I'm taking out of it now.
That's the humble response, and 100%. But if you look back at some of the accolades and some of the accounts that you've won over the years, what I've always found incredibly interesting is that you're able to put on a hat for every different client. And I've seen it, where you go from selling beans and figuring out a strategy and a marketing campaign for a tinned food company, to a health brand, to an engineering firm, to a taxidermist. It's quite remarkable. So you literally put on the hat of the industry that you're servicing.
I think that's the fun part of it, because to sell something you need to understand something. So that's where the learning comes in. So whether you're promoting ever-ready batteries, you need to walk through the factory and see how they make it from the beginning to the end, and it's very interesting. So I enjoy that part of it, and understanding that part, and then trying to find a way to communicate the benefits of each of those products and how they affect your life.
And the team around you, obviously, making once again, it's their legacy. They contribute with each of their own skill sets.
Look, the team that we have a high standard, and the work that we do I believe is good, and I'm proud of the work that we've done. I'm proud of the clients that we've worked with, and I mean, some clients like yourself we've been working with for over 20 years. There's quite a few of them, and I've actually written a blog. Well, I wrote a blog a while ago, and I still need to publish it. As when is the right time to leave your agency? So it's like, and these are the things. The right time to leave is when your agency isn't growing with you, or we're not evolving with you. We're not staying fresh, and things become stale. So if you're working in an environment where you have been with a client for so many years, you've grown with them, and you've tried to keep, and you've tried to change and help them grow their businesses. So I enjoy that part of it. I think we just like to help people.
It's the creative process, and again, it goes back to, you are a true creative. Sculptures, drawings, your strategies, the plans that you've come up with, and we thrashed ideas around, and we've had some crazy ones, and we've had some that win, and we've had a whole lot that failed.
What's been good is that you've been open to listening, and we've tried certain things and tested things. So that's great. That's been good. You've given us an opportunity to be free.
Yeah, the platform's there. I mean, we said, let's do it. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, well,
we fail. Move on. I'm pretty certain that the next couple of years of Splitting Image Taxidermy, we're going to move into some uncharted territories where technology is concerned. But I'm very confident from a marketing perspective and a branding perspective that we'll continue with SimonSays guiding us on how to best approach it, and how to marry what is a very traditional industry of hunting, of being out in the bush, the pursuit of food or trophy, whatever your cause is. But I believe that you'll help us navigate the waters to spread the story, to keep the content authentic. I appreciate where we've come from. It's been a ride. It has been a ride. We have children that are growing up before our eyes, and we're watching them do amazing things. Like I said, your son has got he still owes me a buffalo drawing, and he's got an incredible hand with a pen in it. I
think he's forgotten. I'll remind him.
I do appreciate it. And the rest of the team that hasn't been mentioned, Haystack, Damien at Perfect Circle, there's so many dynamics to your business that I don't think people realize have been instrumental in creating what Splitting Image Taxidermy is today.
Thanks for mentioning them. We're the creative bunch, so we've butted heads before and disagreed with certain things, but it's always been for the good of the product. So, and you have to have those honest conversations. And we have a really good team, very good team.
Well, long may we create amazing things and carry on down this journey to wherever it may lead us. I appreciate it. Congratulations on what you've achieved through your company and your efforts through our company. And I do hope that we can continue to create stories that are worth remembering and authentic.
Yeah, that's it.
That's Simon Says from SimonSays Advertising. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Taxidermy Truths. Please, by all means, take the time to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. If you've got any questions, please post them below and we'd be happy to address them. If you've got any topics you'd like us to cover, we would always like to hear back from you. Thank you again, and we look forward to our next great episode.